looks good. The comment is just that I think there's been a philosophy, sometimes it's a little stronger, sometimes it's a little weaker, but there's been a somewhat steady current that says that part of what Lake Worth's reputation is partly on being a little bit different, hopefully in a positive way, not a negative way. And part of that little bit different is we do things a little bit greener than the next place. And as I was listening to the description of things, a couple things came up. Planting is an obvious one. You can plant native plants, you can plant non-native plants. Well, that's pretty easy. Drainage, I know that CDM's report put a fair amount of energy and put actually somebody on looking at somewhat more imaginative ways to do drainage than we usually do. And we know that the trend is going to tighter control over surface water contaminants. And that will come to us eventually. I don't think it's here in a very big way, but it will get here. So if we do things that are more imaginative on that, we probably get some points. Similarly on irrigation, possibly lighting. And I guess what my question is, and maybe this is somewhat directed to William, when you build a building, you know, you have a program for the building. We need 3 stories and so many rooms and this many square feet. And that's all pretty defined. But then some buildings have a certain flavor to them that attract people, and other buildings, you kind of go, well, it's got the square feet, it's got the floors, but does it really have that attraction? Is there any mechanism in this process that allows us to, when we have a choice, do things in a way that out the other end, not only do we have a roadway that works and electricity that works and drainage and all those things, but we also can advertise on that Park of Commerce, hey, this place is a little bit more green because of these conscious things we did. Do we have that room?
Yes, but that is the item we'll be discussing on A3 after this, because it involves who will be owning the road. And we've taken into consideration, even way back in history, the suggestions from CDM and the questions we raised, and that brings to the point where we put it on the agenda, is we need to discuss who will own the road at the end of the day, because that will have a direct impact on how the road is designed.
Because if we own it, just to follow up, I'm assuming that if we own it, we perhaps have more latitude in doing some of these progressive whatever green things, if they can be done. And if the county owns it, the rules are in place, we got to do whatever they say.
Yes.
And, okay, so I should hold my discussion for item 3.
I'll go into that a little bit on item 3 after we get done with Bruce and Matthews, and we'll go into some of the variables and we'll hopefully encourage you to take over ownership of the road.
Yeah, no, and I guess the reason I raise these things is not just because, you know, doing green things is a good thing, but I'm looking always, as we try to advertise our community, anything that we have that sets us a little bit ahead of another community seems like it's a good thing. So if we can say, hey, you know, we thought about these things and here's what we did with them when we were building our Park of Commerce, it seems to me that that is a business advantage to us, as long as it doesn't cost 4 times more, obviously.
Commissioner Serdy, I was ignoring you, sorry.
No, you're not.
Well, you raised your hand and then I went to Commissioner McVoy and you were more patient.
No foul. When we look at the schedule here, this is a 12-month for your part, but you're involved in the next 18 months because it's a 30-month projection overall. So if we have this very consistent and you're on track, then folks that are interested in that Ms. Morrison or whoever brings in could start to anticipate where this is going to happen. That has not happened before. You look at these things, and the more you stay on track, the more credibility to plan and anticipate, okay, once this is ready, our plans, our drawing, our things will be coming in for projects as well, which sometimes are easily 12 months or more out before, so they could, that could shorten the utilization of all this effort here to make this happening quicker than. So I think that's all I wanted to say at this time, is I want to reserve some comments for the third part myself.
Okay.
I want to recommend, I want to also thank you guys for putting this kind of a package together. Being an architect and a contractor, this is in a way kind of a design build approach, which usually will work out in our favor because you should address a lot of the details. And we'll talk about that in the next one, but the idea that I support this one here, that definitely gives you guys relief, but it also gives us more accountability recording.
And again, what we asked for were some more detailed deliverables and all that, so I appreciate it from our last discussion. I know.
Mayor, just one additional comment is that, as we've pointed out, there's 4 points, particularly at the 35% and at the 65% level. It provides staff with considerable ability to review the design as it progresses and provide input then, and we'll be able to have some of the information about construction cost estimates. Again, we will be bringing back, our status as we go along. So I think that gives the staff the ability to look at different options as we're going through the design process with the engineers and the consultants, and to, provide that kind of input as we go along.
Okay, now, in regards to, sorry for the formalities, Pam and William, are we gonna need to vote on each one individually?
We're gonna need 3 separate votes.
3 separate votes, so we should allow, I guess,
We can go ahead.
public comment, we're gonna have on all of the items or all,
Madam Mayor, what you had done at the last meeting
Was
was,
one share
was
on all
because
of them.
all 3 are related to the Park of Commerce and related, to allow each person 2 minutes to speak on any or all of those 3 items together.
okay.
It's the same motion.
Okay, so then can we go through all 3 of the presentations then first, and then allow people to speak so that they can hear what staff and presentations are before deciding each one individually? Normally we would vote after item 1, right after we heard item 1, instead.
You'd like, Madam Mayor, to hear all 3 discussions, but the motions would have to be separate, 3 separate
3
motions.
separate motions,
Yes.
okay, that's fine. Okay, so we're moving on to item 2, professional services agreement. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Good evening, this is Dave Matthews with Matthews Consulting. I also have a copy of our presentation. So I'm going to provide a brief presentation on our owner's representative services for the Department of Commerce. With me, I have Rick Chipman, who's a construction manager with Matthews Consulting. I have Aaron Cutler, who's a construction manager with Matthews Consulting, and also Renee Matthews with Matthews Consulting. And I'm Dave Matthews with Matthews Consulting. Our presentation outline is going to consist of 1, who Matthews Consulting team is, our project responsibilities, our project tasks, our project schedule, and our project deliverables. As this shows, this is our work charts for this project. Again, I'm going to be your project director. I've got 23 years South Florida experience. Once we move into construction, Aaron Cutler is going to be the construction manager. We're also going to be having staff provide support for value engineering, public outreach, resident project representative, and also for bidding services. We're also going to have on our team a separate member called Group 1 is the company, who's going to be providing support for the right-of-way needs analysis and the land acquisition services. So they're a specialty in that type of work. A little bit about Matthews Consulting. We're a local Palm Beach County firm, and we're located 9 miles from the city of Lake Worth and 10 minutes from the Park of Commerce. I also wanted to provide a little bit of background on our experience providing owner's representative services. Currently for the city of Boynton Beach, we're providing owner's representative services. This is for a total of a $20 million construction project. Where on this one, they had 3 different design consultants that were overseeing the design consultants, and also 3 separate contractors for 3 projects. Also in the past, we provided construction management services for Boynton Beach for the Southeast Federal Highway Corridor Improvement Project. This was another project where they had a separate design engineer, and they brought us in to be the owner's rep. And for Palm Beach County Water Utilities Department, we were the owner's rep for a Southern Region Wastewater Treatment Plant 35 MGD upgrade, and this was a $16 million project. So we have been owner's rep for very large capital projects in the past. So our responsibilities as the owner rep is going to be to provide the overall project management. This is going to consist of a monthly progress meetings during design and construction phase, where we're going to be going over the project status update, the right-of-way acquisition update, which is going to be an important element of this project, schedule updates, construction cost updates, permitting updates, public outreach updates, the Palm Beach County road updates. If this project stays within the Palm Beach County right-of-way, that's something that we'll talk about here after this. And also any project constraints, so we can keep everybody up to breast if there's any issues with the projects. Some more of our responsibilities is going to be the land acquisition, and the land acquisition for this is basically going to be right-of-way acquisition. We're not going to be going in and taking over an entire part of the building. It's just going to be the right-of-way that we're going to need for the roadway and the drainage and the water improvements. This is going to include coordination meetings with Mont Bruce, coordination meetings with Palm Beach County, a lot of coordination meetings with the property owners, providing background and research, reviewing the current title work, the right-of-way analysis feasibility study that we're going to be providing, and the appraisal report for approximately 16 parcels. And then we're going to be providing the land acquisition negotiations in cohorts with the City of Lake Worth, and then coming up with a price for these 16 properties that are going to have to be acquired in order for this project to move forward. Another important step is going to be our community improvement plan. This is going to be a 3-step project. Step 1 is going to be property owners, commercial entities acquisition phase. This is going to be happening during acquiring the 16 right-of-ways that we talked about before. Also, step 2 is going to be a public outreach program during the design phase. We want to get people involved so they can understand what's going to be designed here in the future. And also step 3, we're going to have a public outreach program during construction phase, because we want to be a good neighbor during construction, so everybody can still use the roads and move through just like they are today. Another part of our responsibility is going to be providing value engineering services. So as Mont Bruce goes through their design drawings, as he talked about, there's going to be 80-something drawings. At the 35% stage, we're going to provide a quality assurance review and provide comments back to the city and also to Mont Bruce. At the 65% milestone, we're again going to provide the quality assurance review and provide comments back to the city and to Mont Bruce. And there's going to be a certain budget that the city is going to be looking for. So as we're reviewing these, we're going to determine if there's any value engineering costs that we can have in order to keep the project on schedule or budget, or any savings for the city that maybe we're looking at from a different option than Mont Bruce is. Okay? But during the process, though, we are going to be working as a team between Mont Bruce, the city, and Matthews Consulting to deliver the project. Then at the 96% stage, we're going to do a constructability review. And also it's important to note that Matthews Consulting, we've served as the Palm Beach County Value Engineering Consultant for the last 12 years. So all the large capital projects for Palm Beach County Water Utilities Department, we provide value engineering for those projects. Some more on responsibilities once we move into the construction administration phase. We're going to be providing construction management. This is going to consist of project administration, reviewing contractors' pay requests, site visits, contractor clarifications, reviewing any substitute materials, providing startup and testing, preparing punch lists, and final certification. Also, we're going to be providing on-site inspections. We're going to be providing daily inspections to monitor the day-to-day progress. We're going to monitor the quality of the construction, making sure they're following the drawings and the specifications. We're going to be monitoring the schedule, making sure we have job site record keeping and site coordination, and of course making sure that the site is safety. So the project tasks that's going to be included with this contract is task 1, we're going to provide overall project management. Task 2, we're going to provide the right-of-way needs assessment, and task 3 is land acquisition services. So for task 2 and task 3, that's where we're bringing in the company Group 1, who's going to assist us with these 2 tasks. Task 4 is going to be the public outreach services. Task 5 is going to be the engineering design review that I talked about at the 3 separate milestones. Task 6, we're going to provide support to the city during the bidding process to select a qualified contractor to do the project. Task 7 is going to be the construction administration services. And task 8, we're going to provide the resident project representative services. This is our project schedule that we're showing. We're showing it for the entire time frame. The entire time, the frame is 30 months, with 12 months for design, 3 months for bidding, and then 15 months for a construction time frame. So the date we're looking at to be complete on this project is June 2016. So our project deliverables are going to be, we're going to have a monthly design meeting minutes that we're going to be providing. There's going to be a total of 12 of those, one for each month for a 12-month design time frame. We're going to be providing a monthly progress report for the entire project. It's going to be a total of 27 months. This may be something that the commissioners want to get a copy of each month to provide you the information that you're looking for. We're also going to be setting up an FTP site that is going to have a login password that you can go in and see the monthly meeting minutes, look at the drawings, look at the permits, any schedules that we're going to be setting up for the project. So that's 24-hour access that you can go and take a look at that. We're going to be providing the presentation to the City Commission. We're going to be providing the right-of-way analysis feasibility study. We're going to be providing an appraisal report for each parcel. Right now we've estimated 16 parcels. We're going to assist in the development of the purchase agreements, any relocation plans that may be necessary. We're going to have the public outreach program, and we're going to be providing quality assurance reviews on the 35% and 65% design, and the constructability review on the 96% design. We're also going to be providing the pre-bid conference meeting minutes once this moved into bidding the project with the contractors. We're going to be recommending award of the construction contract to one general contractor for this project. We're going to be providing the pre-construction conference meeting minutes, the monthly construction meeting minutes. We're going to be monitoring the contractor's construction schedule, which is very important to keep them on track. We're going to be preparing and negotiating any change orders. I know change orders is a bad word, but for a project this big, there may be something down the road, and we're going to be involved in that. We're going to be preparing any field change directives that we need for the contractor. We're going to be having daily field inspection reports and daily photographs of the construction progress. We're going to be checking the contractor's daily installed quantities, so at the end of the month when it's time for them to do their pay request, there's no haggling over what they need to be paid. So we're going to be checking that on a daily basis. And we're going to be preparing a contractor's punch list at the end of the project. We'll be preparing a substantial punch list and then a final punch list to certify the project at the end. So that's our services. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Sure. Thank you very much for your presentation and clarification. As we spoke earlier about communicating with the public and having a website presence and so folks can log in, I do have one request. That is, as we post updates on the website, that we post these updates in a way that are in layman's terms, not technical jargon, so folks can get it. They don't have to say, gee, what does that mean?
No problem.
You know, so if it says that, you know, task one was to, you know, do this, then let's break it down so even I can understand it and use one syllable words if you can manage that.
No problem.
Thank you.
I like how you tried to throw that so everybody else out there will understand.
It's really for my benefit.
Commissioner Rosa?
Out of the 16 estimated properties, how many property owners are we talking about?
Well, we haven't got into that yet to find out, like there could be one right away where you've got 3 property owners for it. Or once we're gonna be having it, as soon as the contracts get approved, we're gonna have a kickoff meeting on Thursday. And one of our first tasks are gonna be to get with Mont Bruce and to take a look at the right-of-way section, find out exactly what these 16 properties are. Then Group 1 is gonna be getting in touch with each of these property owners, and we're gonna find out if it's 1 person, if it's 4 person, and go through that process.
We have to hire them first.
Well, I actually, that probably should have been directed to Lynn, because I know you've already been dealing with some of that, so you may be able to answer that question.
Well, there are about 12 property owners in general, but some of those 12 property owner entities involve more than one entity themselves.
Okay.
And predicated on what you decide, what direction on item 3 will affect items 2 and 1.
Okay. Commissioner
Approving the acquisition.
I'm gonna ask ignorant questions.
That's fine.
No question's a bad question.
I guess I'm just curious. When you're doing a project like this, if I was one of the property owners alongside this thing, and I got wind that the city was pretty interested in doing this Park of Congress, and you know, this was gonna be a big deal, and I've got a piece of that land, in my mind, the price that I'm willing to sell it for just went up quite a bit. What do we have, and my job sitting here is to protect taxpayer dollars and try to keep the price down. How do you, or how does anybody help in that process? what mechanisms do we have that help?
Well, what Group 1 is gonna be preparing, is they're gonna be preparing, 3 different versions of maybe a price proposal for each of these property owners. And they're gonna be trying to sell to them the benefit they're gonna be getting from the park of commerce that's actually gonna be built, okay? So that's gonna be one of the benefits that we're gonna try to sell to them in order to make this go forward. So basically, we're gonna be looking at, 3 different levels of how we're gonna package this, and then we're gonna just, basically, we've gotta sit down with each of the property owners and kind of get a feel for them on what they're looking for. That's probably what you're also gonna have too. You're gonna have lawyers knocking on these guys' doors as soon as they start getting wind of this project. That's one of the reasons why we brought Group 1 on, and they're not here, but they're gonna be at our kickoff meeting. Their specialty is property appraisers and dealing with the public in order to acquire public right-of-way. Right now, we're working on a big project for City of Tamarack, where we're putting in a city place along their main street. And Group 1 is on the team, and what they've done there is they've actually gone in and acquired about 13 full properties, okay? Because we're going in there, because the city wants to own the entire property, not just the right-of-way. So they've gone through, and we had these negotiations, and they've gone really, really well. But, it is price dependent, but one of the things that we're looking at here, remember, we're just looking for right-of-way. We're not trying to get the entire property. So for somebody to try to retire on that, it's not a very big area that we're trying to get here.
Commissioner Zerby?
Thanks, Mayor. You all seem to have a lot of good experience over the years here. How did some of the most recent ones you put up here, how did those come in on time and on budget?
Well, all of our projects have come in on time and on budget. Basically, the project that we did for Boynton Beach, that was the road job, we broke that up into 2 contracts, and we didn't have any issues. I think one of the keys that you have to have is trying to pre-qualify your contractors and also having a time frame that's manageable. With this, having a 15-month construction time frame is very manageable. Now, if you have a 12-month construction time frame, then you could get into trouble. So basically what we do is, we monitor the schedule monthly. We're trying to keep the contractor on board. If he does get behind, he has to put together a plan for us in order to show us how he's going to get back on schedule by providing additional manpower and so forth. And then we check that in a month to make sure he's up to schedule on that. If he has to bring in more manpower, then we try to do that. So it's basically, we're trying to monitor the schedule each month. And then if he gets behind, we make him prepare a recovery plan to show the additional manpower that's gonna bring him back up to our schedule.
We'll have some anticipated schedule that should be tied to a cash flow that will be directly related to what the draws are, where you can back in what quantities and all.
Yeah, we're gonna have a
Should be.
schedule values.
So those schedule values are close in there. My background, I'm a general contractor as well as an architect, so I'm not in the engineering projects, but there's some similarities here. You answered a couple things already, but effective on holding the design and construction on task is really important here. So, but the $5.5 million, a number that's kind of out here as a target or goal. You answered one question about the 15-month is a manageable duration for this, so that's good. We're not trying to push something too hard, because things do come up. It's going to go through a whole storm cycle at least once in the year, depending, right? So we've got that to deal with. But do you think, because you all had to do some homework for the RFP, so does the 5.5 million seem reasonable to you all?
Well, one of the things you gotta look at with the 5.5 million, I believe that was in the CDM report that was done, how long ago?
It was reported to the city in 2010.
2010. So of course, we're starting to see some prices increase. But I think one of the things that Mont Bruce is gonna look at, one of the driving factors that increased the price was the stormwater design in that project. And I think that Mont Bruce has some additional innovative design that they're looking at doing and reducing that price in some of the meetings that I've been in that they're looking at. So that's one of the things how the price can be reduced, is taking a look at the drainage component. But the drainage component was pretty large in that, 5.5 million. So that's where I think the money needs to be taken a look at in order to get this within a usable budget and not have the budget all of a sudden we come in here in a year and we tell you it's $7 million.
Commissioner Marzo?
And I just wanted to comment on that because we've had some and inherited some bad business plans, and we're going back and looking at them. We've identified some infrastructure problems where we're actually going back and finding out that, you know, what the city paid for years and years ago, going into a street actually didn't happen. So, you know, I like the idea that you're there and you're cross-checking and making sure, but be aware that because we have identified some of these issues recently, the people, and we will also be double-checking, you know, they will be looking too. So I like the idea that you're there to double-check and make sure that we're getting what we pay for.
Right, and what's gonna be the key here is not all of a sudden Mont Bruce is gonna be done 100%, we have a price that's here. We're gonna be looking at a 35% stage, the 65% stage, and the 100% stage. So we're gonna be looking at it 3 different times in order to keep that budget within your $5.5 million, the number that's out there right now.
And I think Commissioner Maxwell touched on it briefly, but, you know, again, you know, we need to make sure that we do this right, that the business plan is not flawed, and we need to move forward with this plan, because we've been looking at the Park of Commerce for a long time.
Right, so one important concept too is you're gonna wanna take a look at possibly, you know, pre-qualifying contractors that can actually do the work, because we do a lot of different work, and sometimes, you know, low bid is not the best value for the city. So if you pre-qualify the contractors up front, you kind of get rid of the people who maybe they can't really do the job. However, if they don't get the job and they get selected, they're gonna be pulling their attorney with them to fight to get the job. But so if you pre-qualify, you get rid of all that, which can also save you time and money in the future.
And you had mentioned change orders. We don't like change orders. We understand that is a big problem, but we do not like change
So
orders.
they tasked us with coming up here if there's any change orders.
Exactly. Vice Mayor?
And in that vein, you know, if the numbers start to change, I think we'd like to know in real time. I don't think you'll need to kick it around for 3 or 4 weeks, or 6 weeks, or 8 weeks, and come to the final realization, oh yeah, the number's gonna go up. We need to know in real time, so, you know, we don't like surprises.
We don't like last minute.
Right, well, I know we're gonna be giving some presentations to the commission, maybe a milestone is gonna be after the 35, the 65, and the 100. If you guys would like us to come here and provide something, we certainly can.
It's too important to the city. We've waited a long time, so thank you. Okay, on to the next, item 3. Thank you.